So afterwards, um, where are you seeing those messages, Anton? Anyway, well, we'll just get cracking onto this. We've got a bit of short time, but yeah, thanks all for joining. What I'll do is I'll record all of this, then I'll post it as a link afterwards. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a shame we couldn't actually get that live stream working, but it's a little bit finicky. Um, yeah, so yeah, thanks for joining. Just yeah, just go through a few topics. First of all, I wanted to just go through each, uh, just understand how each one of you have used HoloLens and the issues you faced and what you sort of currently are looking at using for mixed reality and what sort of future mixed reality options you're considering. So um, let's kick it off. First of all, I want to do an introduction. I mean, we've got such a great audience here. We've got sort of founders of sort of technology companies, being like Saeed and Marit, and we've got end users like John and Simon, and we've got sort of people who work in the consultant areas um, like Anton, yeah, and also end users like Gary. So I just want to have a quick round robin on how each of you have used HoloLens or what your application is. So if we wanted to kick off, Marit, do you want to kick off and just sort of give an overview on how you used the HoloLens?
Let me be the first to answer this quick
Okay, cool.
question. So, first ever, I met HoloLens when I was an R&D expert at Spectre company, and we actually did some kind of connection between development team, engineering team, and field team, and mostly we use it to check the Revit workflow and see how we provide the Revit files to the field team, etc., etc. So speaking about that period of my career, I would like to highlight that I was super happy to get HoloLens simulator. Because at that time, for me, it was hard to get HoloLens, and I just used emulator. I had no knowledge of coding to check it through Unity. So I would like to admit that on HoloLens, you can use that HoloLens simulator. And now, as a conjoint co-founder, we actually use HoloLens for augmented reality for construction. And we use it during our live presentation when we show different hardware for our customers to compare it. We show like HoloLens, MetaQuest 3, and iPad. And unfortunately, I had to say that we use HoloLens just to say some kind of bad kind of hardware, bad sample of hardware for augmented reality because it's expensive. It doesn't work under daily sunlight, and it's hard to understand for new user and so on and so on. And we just say, and in compare, you can have MetaQuest 3. So now I use HoloLens just to show disadvantages of uh, hardware for augmented reality. This is it.
Yeah, you've told me the story before, Anton. How about you, John? You were there right from the beginning back at Kiwi. Be really interesting to sort of understand how you used HoloLens and the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. So yeah, at Kiewit, we were fortunate enough to be in the first wave of HoloLenses that were released. We got our hands on the first two out of 100, and back then it wasn't really designed for construction. And the only thing you could show were like a floating ballerina or an astronaut floating around. So we had to spend a lot of time really just developing proof of concepts to see how it could be used in the construction industry. So I think the first time we brought a model of a bridge into the HoloLens, it took us about a month to do. We had to create just a develop a program just to do that. And it was very low quality, but it was very cool at the time. I remember taking it to our designers that were working on the bridge, and they were blown away that they could, move around and really see it in 3D. From there, we did a lot of proof of concepts of bringing entire BIM models in and working to get that in a shared environment. So we did an example where we were building an aircraft hangar for Alaska Airlines, and we walked through seven of their executives through that hangar at the time in a shared view, and we faked the sharing. We had positioned the model in the same spot with a QR code, and everybody had it in the same position, so they weren't all together in it together, but to them they thought they were, so we actually faked it. But it was really interesting at the time because we had the architect, walking the people through the model and walking around a conference room and seeing it. And the architect at the time noticed that there was a door in the wrong position. And that's something that he didn't notice in the model, even though that he had gone through the model, for months. But until he actually got into the model and walked in it in augmented reality, he didn't notice it. So those were a lot of the first things we tried doing. From there, we tried moving it, outside, and a lot of the technology like BIM Hall of View and things like that have caught up to the HoloLens, allowing us to bring in models instead of having us to develop a program for each model that we would bring in. But I think, as Anton had talked about, some of the disadvantages is using it in a bright light situation, and we don't do all of our construction indoors, right? So it was difficult to do that. We put uh, um, shading over the glasses to make them more visible during the daytime, and different things to try to get them to use it outside. Um, Using it uh, um, with a construction person was also difficult with limitations as wearing a hard hat and wearing gloves and things like that. So. We've done a lot with using iPads, for augmented reality to be able to use that in the field. And obviously, our people have a lot more in common with an iPad than they do a HoloLens. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
this that's probably a good one to pass over to Gary because I think Gary's been through the same sort of transition of dabbling with, well, probably did start off just dabbling a little bit with HoloLens, but then went all in with the iPad. So, Gary, do you just want to just talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of were introduced to the HoloLens through Trimble. It's a couple of friends I have that work for Trimble. Kevin contacted me and told me about this. At the time, it was probably the late 2017, 18, 19 time. That was probably early in the life cycle of the HoloLens too that we got access to it. And we got to sort of do a demo on a project that we're working on actually close to home at an office where we're developing right next door to our head office. So I got to do a bit of a product demo on site, but unfortunately, it was good in the sense that it planted the seed of the concept of AR as a technology and as a workflow, but it was sort of badly done at the time. The battery on the headset lasted no more than 30 minutes, and it sort of pointed out the flaws of the hardware and the limitations of the hardware. We had sort of worked hard to convert one of our models, and it was quite a big workflow as well to change from an MEP model environment within Revit. You had to go kind of the IFC route, and there was quite a bit of work involved in segmenting the model into separate ventilation and electrical and ductwork. So there was quite a bit of work to get the end result of the AR model, and when we looked at it, it just wasn't really suitable for what we did. But at the time, it certainly planted the seed of AR as a concept, and we then, from that sort of date, implemented a kind of full stack XR approach that we use VR for pre-manufacturing, pre-considerations, and then once established, then we have partnered with a company called Gamma AR, and we use their software on the iPads, just as you say, yes, and it allows for sort of quick verification on site that everything is as should be, and allows for quick comparisons of the model on instances, and it works on a similar QR code system of collaboration, or getting yourself sort of anchored in 3D space and understanding where your XYZ is, and it's very robust. Yeah, so I mean, HoloLens kind of planted the seed, but going forward, I would hope to see a return of mixed reality, and if it's augmented or heads-up displays, or perhaps even like a Quest 3 type app that has mixed reality and frees up the hands and uses much of it more voice commands and AI generated systems. I think that's probably the way it's going to end up going. I think it was ahead of its time. It was just not strong enough on the hardware side, I think. And it's disappointing that they never followed up with the HoloLens 3. I think that was a bit short-sighted of Microsoft. I think they had a bit of a winning device there. They just didn't have the balls to see it through.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Gary. Saeed. I wanted to bring Saeed into this because he was sort of pioneered the whole sort of HoloLens, the construction. And I think, so if you be really interested to get your feedback on your sort of your journeys with HoloLens and Visual Live, because it was very a trailblazer in terms of applications in our area.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for having me. So it was back in 2016 when Microsoft HoloLens announced in the market, and they had some sort of marketing for everything, for gaming, for medical use, for construction was one of them, but they didn't know what to do with it. So everyone, like different company, they got this HoloLens. I was working in a construction company back in days in the Hens Phelps. So I grabbed one HoloLens to actually test it and see how it works. I was developing VR apps for Oculus before that. And then with Microsoft HoloLens and Unity, I started to put together a 2D model to that, exporting beam model files, FBX, all sort of crazy stuff to make it to the HoloLens, and to just see how it looks like, how it feels like. Then when I see the model for first time in HoloLens, I was super impressed because I didn't expect that model comes one-to-one scale in the field. I mean, the real location. I remember that I had my measuring tape in my hand, measure 3 times, 4 times to make sure this is a one-to-one scale, 100% one-to-one scale. It was very impressive. And then the challenge was how to align it to the real construction site using control points and to be in the right location in the job site. And also another challenge was how to scale this, because not everyone is Unity developer or not everyone is software developer. So anyway, so I quit the construction company. I started Visual Live, aiming to bring this to a scale so everyone can just press one button in their software, which was AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks, and these tools to bring the BIM model files to the HoloLens. After a couple of months of developing, so we brought it to the market with Visual Live. It was a very successful effort, and it was very impressive. I mean, HoloLens was a great device, so it was one of a kind in the market. So, I mean, to be able to see through it, I know that these days everyone's doing pass-through with beta, which is not very impressive, but HoloLens to have those depth sensor cameras to actually make it one-to-one scale, and also with see-through, great product. I'm very surprised that these guys discontinued the product. I'm hoping that the new product is going to be good coming to the market. But anyway, so I think my journey was very good. I really liked it. For 4 years, I had the company, and Unity acquired my company. We had 1,500 different construction companies using my software, and I really miss those days.
Mm-hmm. Mariette, well, you're now Saeed and my camp as well. I just wanted to see, you've sort of kind of made the transition across to using Magic Leap in the tablets, but I just wanted to see, to get your feedback on using, developing or producing products for the HoloLens.
It was it was a difficult time to produce products on the HoloLens. We were an unknown entity, so it was really hard for us to get support. Once on the HoloLens, we really enjoyed the spatial anchors. The Azure spatial anchors were for us something that really helped us differentiate in terms of its memory. When you arrived on site, it would align exactly where you'd walked before. The HoloLens at the time crashed a lot. And so my customers would comment, "Oh my gosh, it's so nice that as soon as it boots up again, it just remembers where I am." And I was like, yes, thank you. When they got rid of spatial anchors, that was the biggest disappointment for me because it felt like, oh gosh, I have to take this step back in what the product could do. So it's always been on our mind to create our own spatial anchors that are optimized for the construction industry. We are in beta with that on the iPad right now. I say beta because it's not that good. It'll work half the time, but we got to get it out there for testing.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I mean, in terms of making the leap from HoloLens to Magic Leap to now iOS, there's nothing like developing on an Android so far. I gotta say that's the best one for us so far.
Yeah. Dace, I had in my bio, which I kind of had to skip over at the beginning because the technical issues, but I think in terms of anything to do with XR and construction, you've had a finger in virtually all of it. So yeah, just give us your feedback on HoloLens and its use and in the world.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, I've been in XR and AEC now for about 35 years. So I feel like I've developed or at least been a key witness in a lot of different use cases in that time, and have played with a lot of different display types to correspond to those use cases. And yeah, certainly no stranger to the HoloLens in that time. Had the pleasure of driving a project on a construction site a few years back where, as far as I know, we were the first ones to apply augmented reality to construction installation. So many of the use cases, especially early on for augmented reality on a job site, on a construction site, dealt with kind of trailing indicator use cases, quality control. Did we put the stuff in right? Did it go in on time? But kind of looking in the rearview mirror. And this one particular project was a bit ahead of its time, but really looking at where will things go in the first place, supporting installation and layout. And we used the HoloLens. We used Spectar, so I had the pleasure of working with Anton at the time, and proved out like a 40% increase in productivity using it wasn't about the HoloLens specifically, but using hands-free heads-up display and augmented reality display to allow the workers to kind of use their hands for the task at hand, doing the layout. So, from during that pilot project, absolutely learned a lot about the HoloLens, fell in love with it, fell in love with being able to use it despite its limitations, and really push it as far as we could. That said, it was a device that had limitations. Certainly, I think it was already mentioned, brightness is definitely a factor. Field of view was a major factor for us. I am just as disappointed as anybody that there was no HoloLens 3 to follow up the 1 and 2, but my biggest hopes were for a wider field of view than either of the flavors of HoloLens offered at the time. Maybe a third limitation that we found was the gestures. As much as I loved having hands free so that we could focus on grabbing materials and equipment on the job site and doing something with it, the gesture, the air tap, found that to be a continuous source of frustration for field professionals, superintendents, or foremen who had to be trained really specifically to get the most out of that gesture recognition. So yeah, it definitely had some limitations. I do lament again that it didn't go any further, and look forward to what else is coming, and maybe that's maybe the next part of this discussion. But yeah, I feel like we definitely got as much out of it as we could at the time.
Yeah, that's a good point, guys. I mean, how many times you sort of tell people to do this or do this, and they'll do this and do whatever. Yeah, it's whereas you give them something like a Quest, which does have both, and you give them the controllers, and they just seem to know what's happening. I'll just do a quick slide. I mean, I think most of you sort of covered a little bit on the limitations, but I got my AI to generate this slide, so I thought I'd better share it. So yeah, and some of the stuff that you've already covered is already in the slide, but there's a few issues that I've sort of seen with HoloLens. Obviously they're a little bit temperamental, feel easy to sort of break and they're expensive, relatively expensive, bit of model drift, and as John sort of pointed out, there's a little bit of they don't play well in the sun, and this is one that Gary sort of pointed out. Did this one specifically for you, Gary? This is supposed to show the HoloLens being crushed under the weight of an MEP model. So so that was kind of the things which I don't forgot about your one about the gestures, Dace. That they were kind of a bit limited in that respect. So, is there anything else that sort of people sort of thought were weaknesses in the HoloLens? The other one Gary pointed out was the battery life, which I can agree with, particularly when it's doing a lot of heavy work. So, is there anything else that people sort of thought was a bit of a weakness in the HoloLens space?
I would like to add battery life because I still compare HoloLens with MetaQuest 3, sorry guys, and for MetaQuest 3 I have this swappable battery and I have 3 pack of them, and when I forgot to power up my battery on HoloLens, the whole workflow crashed and I can't like change it, or I can't I can get the second HoloLens of course, but and one more I would like to add, lack of technical support in Romania, because the closest Microsoft authorized repair center is in Germany. And it takes like 7 days to send it there and send it back, and then, okay, let's pay it, and how we negotiate it, and so on and so on. So I think for US guys, it's totally fine to have repair centers in every village, but for East Europe, it's quite hard.
Yeah, I think it's as well as just the UI experience. I can send a MetaQuest to somebody in the mail, and they can put it on and get it really configured without a lot of aid, right? But I could never do that with a HoloLens. I always needed to be there, show them how to put it on, and align it to their face, really. And then there's learning gestures, because it's a whole different world, whole different UI interface.
Hmm. Yeah, I can agree with all of those things. So uh, now that the HoloLens is no longer in production, although officially sort of supported through to 2027, I just wanted to see what people are using in terms of alternatives, whether you're still using HoloLens or you're using other things. So, um, so what do you think, John? I'll start off with you, given you're on the call.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next best alternative to something in the field is an iPad. It's disappointing. The MetaQuest and Apple Vision Pro, I think are the next generation of AR, or a chance to do that. But I was always disappointed with the camera that they have in there. I was expecting a higher quality. If you're going to do pass through and take over from where HoloLens left off, you need a much higher quality camera, I think. And then you have the issues of with VR headsets, you're basically putting a bag over your head on a construction site, right? Whereas the HoloLens had the ability that you could see through the lenses that are basically safety glasses, and a little bit more accepted on a job site versus putting a VR goggle on. A lot of the new technologies you're seeing come out, I would really say they're more heads-up displays than AR, right? They're displaying content on glasses, but they're not locking them in place, not giving you that three-dimensional view. Um, so I guess I'm hoping for, a MetaQuest, a next generation that's really tackling the AR concept more than the VR.
Yeah. Simon, you've kind of a bit unique because you've got, you quite like the Vision Pro. You still got a bit of HoloLens, and you have dabbled with the MetaQuest. So interested to get
Yep.
your feedback from your customers, Simon.
Okay. I think because I'm a latecomer to HoloLens 2 and the fact that your BIM HoloView was available to me, I bought a HoloLens with the view that, I use Synchro Pro, and Synchro Pro says you can cast your 4D construction simulation to your HoloLens. Well, I deactivate it. So I get hold of Greg Demchak and say, hey, Greg, what's going on? You've killed the software. Anyway, then I found you, Peter. I use HoloLens 2 as a sales tool. I work in the food industry. We design and build food machinery, food factories, project management. I can walk into a client's facility with a catalog of machines, pull up whatever he's interested in. And this is the great bit about HoloLens. I take it off and give it to him. There's no recalibration. There's no Apple Vision Pro looking at your hands and looking at the dots. He puts the headset on, he sees what I see. With your app, he can just move and put a machine where he might like it in his facility, give me the headset back. We'll do a walk around and a video, walk and talk, design critique. We'll go back. The CAD guys will redesign and produce a factory scale model. And we're talking 500-600 feet long process line to nut and bolt detail. All the machines to make potato chips or roast coffee, big silo systems, walk in a plant, load it up. And I'm off grid, so I don't need Wi-Fi. I don't need the internet because I'm inside a fairly well screened factory. I can see through the thing, which John was mentioning. I'm basically wearing safety glasses. I can flip it up. I can see moving vehicles. Battery life, I just plug in an external battery into the USB-C, just like a Vision Pro. And I'm having a great time with HoloLens. I've got 4, 2 secondhand, 2 brand new. Never had a glitch. Never had a software problem. And I just run BIM HoloView and now HoloLight testing with you, Peter.
Yeah,
Great.
I think you must be. I shouldn't really say this, but you must be the only person I know who hasn't had problems with HoloLens.
No trouble with just 10 minutes on BIM HoloView to say to somebody, click, click, move it. No trouble. But, just turn your hand. So we're having a great time with it. I'm sad it's not continuing. You telling me that everybody's gone to work for Rivet. Well, there's a clue what's coming if we're allowed to play with that. I do use Vision Pro. Obviously, it's a super powerful MacBook Pro and a headset. But I can do fully rendered 3D models. I can do TLS scan turned into polygons, textured USDZ one-to-one factory scale, and put models in it as well, just using the preview function. No app. But I'm using cameras. I get motion blur. I don't want to take a thing that's all made of glass into a food factory. I can't take it off and give it to another user because they'll lose everything, recalibrate. So what I do is if I'm wearing it, I'm doing a sort of a high power, fully colored textured polygon render. I'll have an iPad and I'll just cast from the Apple Vision Pro and cast what I'm seeing onto the iPad. So I can look and turn and see. So that's pretty good, but it's not ideal. And the battery's crap. I still like HoloLens 2, the fact you're looking through something and you can still see around you. I think this is probably the next generation. Maybe Rivet is the one to see, but there isn't a product currently, in my opinion, there isn't a product to replace HoloLens 2 that works in the way I want it to, which is superimposing holograms into real space, being able to video and critique it, and using it for design sign-off, pre-install meeting, factory planning. There isn't another product as yet for me.
Maria, just wanted to talk to you, your experience with the, because now you've got the tablet and the Magic Leap, just kind of how those two sort of work together, or which one works in which scenario.
I'm so like I love Simon also. You've put the perfect plant in the audience. And now I want chips and coffee. But I think it really goes to show how terrible Magic Leap's marketing of their product was because I like as soon as my CTO went under my head over my head and decided to put the product on here, I was so impressed. The holograms are superimposed. There's a few things it doesn't do that HoloLens does. Like I would love it to have any sort of flip up. I would love it to really actually natively work with a hard hat versus just kind of fitting under one. But I think like everyone learned their lesson with their HoloLens 1 and 2 purchases where like big companies spent just millions on hardware that ended up sitting on the shelf. And so that has impacted subsequent this, I guess, like scale of purchases on these other devices. So I hope Rivet makes it. I hope that happens. I also like it's no secret that Magic Leap has been a partner with Google for a long time, that they're developed on Android. I hope that there's a route there that involves very little work for me to port, just as pure selfishness over here. In terms of immersive versus tablet, it can't be beat. Like immersive just for me, that's always got my heart. It's got like my brain. It takes you when you're doing this in a construction context from a tablet is really great at being like, okay, we can QA and QC something we are expecting. But there is nothing like putting your construction brain. Oh, I see a puppy dog in John Rick's background.
Sorry.
There is nothing like your construction brain with the model and you're capturing in real time, like opportunistic errors, like things you wouldn't have thought of before. So immersive for me is always going to be it. One of the funny things I'm thinking about doing lately is porting. We've stopped being on HoloLens, but I'm considering porting back to it just because we've had enough advancements on our own side that maybe it won't crash the dang thing anymore. So stay tuned for quick ventures into whatever is next.
Cool. Yeah, what about you, Dace? What's your impression on what people are using?
Yeah, well, I mean, plus one to what Merritt said about where the heart is. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's the immersive experience is still the ideal. Sometimes it's achievable, sometimes it's not, but that's still the North Star. I've of course used a smattering of displays trying to make up for the gap that the HoloLens has left in its wake. Obviously, there's the Meta Quest 3, and it's got the limitations that people have already noted. I mean, there are workarounds to the limitations, but they remain workarounds, right? It's still not natively meant for the job site. It's you've got to really want it as a contractor to use it out there and kind of make up reasons and methods to make it work.
Yeah.
There's phones and tablets, and of course they have their limitations, but they're in everybody's pockets, especially phones. So anything that's mobile phone, mobile device compatible is still a winner for a lot of use cases. Probably worth mentioning the XYZ Reality Atom. Obviously, they're an augmented reality solution provider, both hardware and software, but they're purpose built for construction, so they're a little bit niche. They focus in on data centers and mission critical work, and they have very very specific workflows and specific use cases. But their hardware is rock solid. I mean, it's a hard hat form factor, and it's meant for the job site. So it's unfortunate they're not more widely used, or they don't support necessarily market types and use cases that are a little more widespread. But for what they do, it's a rock solid solution.
Yeah. Yeah, so my last sort of topic is, and we have sort of touched on it a little bit um, um, already, is sort of looking forward. And I sort of want to grab two people to start with this one. First of all, say, I mean, you're a technologist through and through. And I know, with your space tags, it's a little bit adjacent to the sort of augmented reality space. But I know you're a technologist through and through. So what's your sort of vision of the future in terms of mixed reality?
I mean, we need to see what application we want to actually apply, which is AEC or, I mean, with the space tags, we are mostly in operation facility management, but when we talk about AEC use case, so it comes mostly in the design validation and install verification. For those purposes, I mean, of course, there are other use cases. I've been away from construction 4 years, and I don't know more like a beam in AR, MR, more use cases that probably is built over past 4 years. But mostly from what the clients were using, HoloLens in construction was design validation and install verification. And for those two purposes, we need a high accuracy, one-to-one scale 3D model in the field that actually aligns very well in the right location job site. So that's a fundamental of this. If you want to actually have that goal, so they need to build better depth sensor cameras. Even if they need to put a laser on top of the headset, they need to do it right to make it 100% accurate, so people can use it for more layout and more high accuracy activities in construction sites. So that's what I envision for future of the devices if we want to continue, and we have to continue because market needs this. And another thing is that beside the accuracy and one-to-one scale is a see-through. This pass-through, I'm not a fan of that at all. I mean, makes it easy. I mean, that's why people like augmented reality, mixed reality versus virtual reality. Virtual reality makes it easy. Latency, 1 millisecond latency makes it easier. And that pass-through camera is not long-term. I'm not sure if it's going to be working, especially for construction site, that safety is very high important. I mean, it's a safety hazard, right? If there's a latency, if there's a problem with the video feed, you're in trouble. So see-through is a must. Accuracy and the sensor is going to be very important to actually accomplish what we need in construction and AEC market for augmented reality and mixed reality. But for other applications, like what we do, for example, in facility management operation, these tags, I mean, if it's 1 inch away, no one cares, right? That's why we use iPad and customers happy with that. But for construction and for layout, I mean, I follow like XYZ reality thing that you mentioned. So they're doing a good job, but they need to find a way to actually make it to the scale, not the way that they do this as a service. It's not gonna scale quickly. They come and set it up for you for one area of the job site. It's not gonna work like that. They need to put something that people can use on their own. And then another thing is that if they can make the glasses lighter, instead of like putting the bulky thing on your head. Marit, I really like the Magic Clip. I mean, the first time I used it, I really liked it, but back in days it was not developed enough. I hope that they develop enough these days that people can use it. But I think the only alternative that I see right now is Magic Clip. I hope that actually they make it better and better.
Yeah. Gary, I mean, I again on my bio, which I didn't get to go through, I like that you always call a spade a spade. So what's your take on sort of future tech?
It's hard. I've spent a lot of time developing sort of VR applications and workflows using VR, and the immersiveness is what's made it a success. So augmented reality and the sort of step back that we took going to a tablet has always sort of been a thing for me that it wasn't the same experience. I think the previous comments were spot on, and that nothing really beats having that immersive, experience. You catch much more, you see much more when it's sort of inherently in your eye. So I think future devices, whether they be a holographic heads up sort of HoloLens feature one, or indeed a mixed reality sort of Quest 3 experience, but next generation hardware, I think there's an opportunity for someone in the AEC industry and the partner with a manufacturer of a device and make a sight-based headset that's almost like a Quest 4, but instead of having just front-facing tracking for hand and body movement, you have a 360-degree camera system that is, geared towards health and safety and is always looking for danger around the user or approaching machinery or, proximity to barriers or things like that. The advent of AI and the layer of AI that can now sort of sit over these systems and sort of live analyze video feeds and understand what the user's using. But as the headsets become more and more complex and the workflows become more complex, the problem then becomes the infrastructure on the sites. How do we power these experiences? How do we get these experiences working on a collaborative system? If you're 5 floors below ground in a basement, you're not going to get internet signal. So how the system's going to work? Is the device going to have enough processing power on board? Some of our models don't play friendly with a lot of these machines because of the sheer complexity of our models. Our model's going to have trillions of vertices to try and render. So we end up butchering the model and only looking at half the model, and then that defeats the whole purpose. Do you know what I mean? So the Quest 3 and the VR suite that we're using at the minute is extremely powerful from Autodesk. It's able to render the entire site of 25 buildings plus. So the capability of a device like the Quest 3 going to the Quest 4 is there and evident. But Said's correct about the latency. It can cause quite a bit of motion sickness for people. A lot of people just don't deal with a mixed reality. So if they can address that in future builds, if the latency can be brought down, I think like a high resolution camera pass through with a mixed reality might be the winner. I don't see any holographic devices coming to the market anytime soon, not that I'm aware of, but who's to say where we'll be in 5 years?
John, are you sort of keeping an eye on sort of future developments in this area in terms of what new headsets are coming out, or what you think would be appropriate on a job site?
Yeah, I think like everybody, I keep an eye on it. I've been watching headsets since Google Glass and Daiquiri headsets, and um, really root for Magic Leap now because they only seem to be the only player left. But I don't think they can get out of their own way in releasing stuff. They don't have the marketing skills and they don't have the power of Microsoft. I think that's one of the reasons why HoloLens was successful and where it was is they did have a big name behind them and were able to get it out there. Um, I think like Gary and you mentioned, um, the VR pass-through aspect of it, I don't think even compares to HoloLens, in the experience, but I think it's probably the easiest way. HoloLens was technically way ahead of itself in what it did. It was a very difficult thing to do, projecting on the glass and in a curved surface. I think the VR aspect of it with pass-through is kind of cheating, but it's way easier and it does work outside. It's easier to use, but it's not safe. It's not safe for construction. Um, it does provide an easier experience. It's easier for people to get to use. I'm hoping that somebody will come up with something. Maybe we need to go on eBay and buy up all the HoloLenses, and start keep using those. But I haven't really seen a really good, clear competitor to HoloLens out there that does what it does.
Yeah, so I've been kind of very, very interested in the Rivet headset because essentially, if you go into Rivet and then look at their personnel list, you're going, hang on, there's some really familiar names here. And it's like all the Microsoft development team have shuffled over to that side, and you're going, oh wow, you've got some really experienced people on that side, and sort of hopefully down the track they're going to come up with a great device. So I sort of had a little bit of inside knowledge on kind of where they're going with this. So the first one is obviously the military contract. So if you've been onto the Rivet website, it's all about frontline first and solving those problems, and they're really solving that. But the sort of second main use case is in the aerospace. And once I've got those two nailed down, then we'll probably end up with sort of like hopefully in a few years' time, we'll end up with a more of a generic kind of headset coming through. But the good thing about it sort of ticks a lot of the boxes. It's pass through, it's got the sensors like the HoloLens had, but also brings in the more environmental considerations. It handles the heat. You can throw it in the water, all that kind of thing as well. So, yes, I'm hopeful that that's going to be on the track. But I've got one of my slides here. I've just got a selection of devices. So I see your question. We'll get onto that quickly. But one of the things about, what sort of frustrated me, and I can sort of reiterate what Saeed was saying. So there's just a selection of headsets. The top one here is the Stingray. The bottom one here is a metal lens. The other one's the Samsung XR, and the Sony. The middle one's the Rivet headset. The problem with the headsets, it's like such a difficult problem to solve. As you were saying, John, I mean, HoloLens is ahead of itself. Be able to have something on your head that knows where your head is, can adjust for your interpupillary distance, track your hands, track the space. There's a lot of technology in a very small space, and I think a lot of vendors, when they get into this, go, "Oh yeah, I've got a good display," but they don't have any of the other stuff. So there's quite a complex thing to solve. But I'm sort of fingers crossed Rivet will head the way. And from my perspective, there's unfortunately in the short term we sort of have to look at a sort of a pass-through type solution like a Meta headset, and come up with procedures for dealing with the sort of safety aspects of that. So before we just jump into questions, anybody else got any feedback on where they think the sort of technology is heading in the future?
Well, I think it's worth keeping an eye on smart glasses.
Yeah.
It's attacking the problem from a different direction. Things like the Snap spectacles.
Yeah.
I mean, they handle 3D graphics just fine. They handle outdoor lighting conditions just fine. They're powered appropriately. They have the battery life. They have a lot of things going for it. What they don't have is they're not ruggedized. It's not, there's no OSHA compliance there. So then we're stuck back in the same loop as we are with other hardware that wasn't made for the job site. So not perfect yet, but the smart glasses market is making inroads to solve this problem from a lightweight direction.
Yeah, cool. Okay, questions. We've got a couple of minutes left. Is it Ivan, you had your hand up? Somebody had the hand up.
Yeah.
Yep, cool. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I've tried several weeks ago the TiggleLens Acro. It was very interesting. Snapdragon chipset. But you can use it with glasses.
Right.
We have many customers in Asia, and 60% of the Asian people have glasses. And hoping for the HMS smart glasses from Hitachi. I hope that would be the next step after HoloLens.
Yeah, cool. What other questions we've got here? Yeah, I think there's quite. Yeah, we just need to have sort of some more products in the market, and I think what they said is really valuable. These the wearable glasses, even though they don't sort of fit the construction use case as such, the advancement in the waveguide technology that these devices gives other vendors who want to integrate that into a more broader package, that becomes a lot more exciting. Right. Why did Microsoft abandon their product? Very good question. I It's mainly commercials, I think, is that one. It's a really good point, Ryan. You raised the point. Why is no one talking about MR technology to control hardware? There's a really good video I might share later. This guy, and I thought about doing it myself. They control their home automation using gestures, so you can go through and you can beep out a light and turn things on and off. And obviously, you can do that for a whole variety of things. Because basically, once you know where something is, then you can control it. So, and that's definitely something that you can do. It's just a matter of working out the spaces and being able to drive them accordingly. Okay, any other questions anybody's got? No, I think that's it. Yeah, sorry about the technical issues with the Zoom this morning. I literally had it all set up 30 seconds before, and it goes, "Oh, the stream is cancelled." But we managed to do it on this, and I'll record it. I'll post it up on up on LinkedIn. Add some additional information in there. So if anybody comes in and got some questions I've thought about afterwards, just definitely add that in. I've got 5 new. What's it? Yep, thanks. Cool. Yeah, so thanks all. Have a good rest of your day, or start of your day, or end of your day, depending on what part of the world you're in. It's been really, really illuminating. I really appreciate you guys' feedback. I think I've probably learned a lot from all of you, so that's really awesome.
Pleasure being here.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay,
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, everyone.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.